Welcome to Front Range Facts. This is Anthony Meisner.
And this is Jim Marion.
And let's get right into our national update today. So we've got a lot to talk about.
Yeah. We wanted to talk a little bit about what the Fed's recent policy shifts have meant for the market and why they did it. So let's dive into some of that. And the first thing is basically that inflation is starting to be tamed. It's as you can see from here, we hit in March 2022 kind of peak inflation, and it's been kind of steadily declining with a few fits and starts ever since. And so, it's getting to the point where with this and with jobs data, the Fed decided, hey, not only do we need to make a move, but we need to make more of a bold move at a 0.5% basis point, drop.
Absolutely. So check this out. Unemployment rate has been rising quite a bit faster than they would have liked, up to 4.3%. So even though they weren't quite to their target rate, unemployment rate is changing fast enough that's really why they pulled the trigger on this early.
I think they're still wanting to not have it be, like that 5.7 historic. So that's kind of where things are at with, them wanting to try to halt this before it gets worse.
Absolutely. So look at this one. Most economists expect 2 cuts this year.
Yeah, so we had the first one, in September, right, at 0.5, and then there's a November meeting and a December meeting. So most economists are predicting that one of those 2 meetings, the Fed might just say, let's just stop things for a bit and chill out. And I'd predict probably it's the December one, if anything, because they're going to want to try to show a little bit more in November.
Yeah, all right. What else?
Well, this is from Lawrence Yun. I've been with my fat head, chief economist for NAR, National Association of Realtors. And he made a good point. Just, if we're trying to figure out how many of these rate cuts should we expect, he says that generally, in a rate cutting cycle, it's 6 to 8 rounds of cuts. So we should expect in 2025.
So probably quarter point cuts, kind of in a stair step, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they would do?
Yeah,
exactly. All right, so take out the mortgage rate projections here. Basically, everybody's been projecting somewhere around 6.5 to 6, and that's basically
I think it's a steady decline of about 0.1, 0.2%, every quarter decline roughly. What's interesting is when the Fed adjusted the rates down, the market had kind of like overcorrected, it looked like, in anticipation. Sure. So the rates actually went back up. And it certainly reflected that when you're seeing like a 5.98% interest rate before the Fed cut. And even though they went pretty big on their cut, the market still decided to pull back. And, we're at like a little bit over 6 today.
Yeah, if nothing else, this does show you how slow the change will be. But also the good news about this rate of change is this isn't going to create a landslide of new buyers, right? It's not going to completely turn us back into 2022 again. Yeah. This should be a gradual change, which is great.
Yeah, and now we want to look at some data about the market balancing. And just to define that again for everybody, we've got a seller's market where it's basically somewhere around 4 or 5 months is where that seller's market goes away. 6 months, kind of in that balanced zone. And then the buyer's market, as you can see, we really haven't been in since about 2011-ish or so, in any way, shape, or form. But we're kind of edging up, right? We're at that point where we're starting to hit that gray area. And we all know green is good. So gray is, not quite as nice.
No, we want to stay in the green. All right. Homes are sitting on the market a little bit longer. You can see in August, they've been sort of trending up. This is pretty normal market behavior, but it did seem like we're a little higher than we were a year ago, right? So it's taken about an extra week on the market in order to get things sold.
And, inventory, of course, is increasing when we have homes taking longer to sell in the market. Nationally, we're at about 4 months of inventory. So as you can see, this is from July, and I'd love to see kind of where the end of the summer numbers come in. But June, we hit really a peak of the interest rates being around 8%. It really slowed the bus down quite a bit, and we're starting to see a gradual decline, from there. I think we're going to be staying around that 4 level, for the next, few months until, the spring market.
Absolutely. Home prices are moderating.
Well, the interesting thing is, they continue to go up. We had that slight dip when, really the wheels came off the bus, in 2023 spring.
Right.
Where prices actually declined for the first time in God knows how long. But, we're seeing a very moderate increase in prices overall. And, it's reflective of just a steadying out of the fact there's, people aren't needing to sell. So we're not seeing a huge bump up in days on market or in inventory levels. But, prices are starting to, level out.
Yep. And the number of price reductions is increasing. So you can really see every month as the inventory has been rising, more and more homes are actually having to drop prices to get under contract. So, all this is to be expected, right, from this behavior.
Yeah. And just a quick kind of snapshot. We don't need to go into all these, but just to show you guys kind of what the hot markets are, what the hot markets aren't. Buyers markets, is where the buyers have a lot more control. So it's probably somewhere in the 5, 6, 7, 8 months of inventory. It's interesting, the Florida ones, because there is this huge hurricane approaching them. When we see natural disasters happen, usually prices go up about 10% because inventory drops way down and there's a lot of housing need because people have lost their homes.
Right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if some of those Florida markets actually go into that seller's column, or at least go into more of a neutral one. But it's kind of interesting to see that California still has those high price increases, in Washington State with those high price increases, they're still struggling.
It is fascinating to see that Colorado is so in the middle here. We're not making this list at all right now, which is not so bad.
It's kind of good to not be on some.
I like that. Yeah, it's a nice change of pace, right?
Yeah. Other facts to know. I want to just give you a quick snapshot of a few other random items here. So, what is the home price increase estimated to be? This is from, I'm going to get this out of here. So this is basically surveys that they do of leading economists. And so what they're projecting is that, we're looking at under 5% price increase per year for the next 5 years on what home prices are going to look like, with 24 actually kind of surprising to me, being the highest in their opinion, because it's been a rough year and we've been in a recession most of this year, with real estate.
Absolutely. All right. So basically $91,000, the potential growth in household wealth over the next 5 years based solely off of their home equity.
And I think this is just good to look at from a standpoint of, when people are like afraid to buy because interest rates are high or whatever else, well, you're making it up on the back end with appreciation regardless, right? So even if you're paying a little bit more now, Anthony's going through a refinance right now because rates have gotten better. So, we're going to continue to see the refi business kick up, and help mitigate some of the things that people have had to struggle with higher payments. And since interest rates are dropping now, we're going to see more favorable market for people to become buyers in the first place, or more refis.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so look at this one. Most first-time home buyers qualify for down payment assistance, but few very much used to, right?
Yeah,
so they've really changed a lot.
Yeah, I think it's important to draw this to everyone's attention because, if you are working with a first-time home buyer, you should know that 4 out of 5 times they do qualify for some sort of down payment assistance.
Yeah,
and quite a few of them are not making any use of those kind of things. It's shocking to see the disparity between the two.
I just can't believe how much this has changed. I mean, you really don't think about this too much on the day-to-day, but boy, if you work with a lot of first-time home buyers, you really want to, this could be a big deal. And if you are a first-time home buyer, don't feel like home ownership is out of reach right now, because it definitely is in reach for about a third of people in Colorado that are renting.
Talk to your lender, talk to your realtor, see if there's any programs you might qualify for. Do your own research as well. But it looks like there's a lot of money being left on the table. And just to give you guys a little more perspective, long term, over the last 30 years nationally, this isn't just Colorado's numbers. Colorado's way better, of course, but like in the last 30 years, home prices have gone up about 319%. In the last 5 years, 58.5%.
Mm-hmm.
Not a bad place to be a homeowner in any part of the country, really, when you look at this kind of stuff. So just, regardless of the interest rates, it's usually always a good time to buy because of this long-term picture that, you think of.
Absolutely.
And, then here just wanted to kind of talk about that inverse relationship between mortgage rates being high and then dropping, and then, mortgage applications being down because their mortgage rates is high, and now they're shooting back up. And I think this is a word of warning to prospective buyers out there. We're seeing a large increase in mortgage applications. We're seeing things like 20% increase in refinance, business. We're seeing more purchase orders come through now. I think we're at like 12% increase in Colorado recently for purchases. So people are starting to come out of the woods again and starting to become buyers again. And this is going to take some of that excess inventory off the market. And this is setting up the spring to potentially have a decent number where you're going to see competitive offers again, needing to be over asking price, needing to give some seller concessions rather than concessions to the buyers. So keep that in mind, that this is actually a really good time to be buying, especially considering the fact interest rates are not going to be moving much in 2025.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today on our national market update. You can always catch us on the Colorado update or the local update that we do. If you need to reach out to me, I'm Anthony Meisner at Land Title. You can reach me at 303-968-9868 or ameisner@ltgc.com.
I'm Jim Arian, realtor here at Coldwell Banker. Give me a call at 303-548-0243 or shoot me an email to jim@ourcoloradohomes.com.
Thanks.
Take care.